1980, how it all began. Welcome to our channel, where we delve into the enthralling realm of history. Today, we will travel back to the 1980s, when pop culture rose to prominence, technology advanced, and enormous social and political upheavals occurred. Now let's investigate how it all started. The 1980s were a decade marked by transformation, invention, and creativity that still affects our world today. This period signaled the start of a new age, whose consequences are being felt today. So fasten your seatbelts and enter the world of 1980, the era of technological advancements. As a result of the significant advancements achieved in several technical fields during this decade, the 1980s are sometimes referred to as the period of technological innovation. Personal computers became more widely available and cheap in the early 1980s. New versions for manufacturers, including Apple, IBM, and Commodore, came with more excellent memory, faster CPUs, and improved graphics. As a result, computers are now widely used in offices, schools, and households. The video game industry began to grow in the 1980s. Although the Atari 2600, the first home gaming machine, was launched in 1977, it wasn't until the 1980s that video games gained popularity as entertainment. Gamers of all ages loved games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Super Mario Bros. The earliest websites and email services were created in the 1980s when the internet was still in its infancy. The domain name system, DNS, developed in 1984, made it simpler to navigate the internet. In the 1980s, the first bulletin board system, BBS, was developed online. In the 1980s, the first cell phones were released. These early devices were bulky, costly, and heavy, yet they helped make our modern, svelte cell phones possible. Significant progress was also made in the field of biotechnology in the 1980s. Researchers made discoveries that allowed them to modify genes and produce GM creatures, GMOs. This resulted in the creation of novel medications, vaccinations, and resistant crops. The era of power fashion sense. Bold, bright outfits that mirror the decade's extravagance and optimism were a hallmark of 1980s fashion. The fact that several of these patterns have returned in recent years demonstrates how the 1980s still influence the fashion world. Power dressing, a fashion trend emphasizing authority, self-assurance, and success, became more popular in the 1980s. Strong shoulder pads, oversized blazers, and sharply fitted suits in vivid colors were the hallmarks of power clothing. Athletic clothing became more popular as a fashion statement in the 1980s. Both men and women favored tracksuits in vibrant colors, sweatbands, and leggings. Denim was a mainstay of 1980s fashion, and acid and stonewashed jeans were especially well-liked. Also fashionable were denim skirts, vests, and coats. Bright, neon hues were quite popular in the 1980s. Clothing, cosmetics, and accessories were frequently seen in fluorescent pinks, greens, and yellows. The 1980s saw much large, curly, and intensely styled hair. Men and women wore striking cosmetics such as vivid eyeshadows, thick eyeliner, and lipstick. Cultural changes for the music industry. Throughout the 1980s, there were also significant cultural shifts. Heavy metal, hip-hop, and new wave music gained popularity, while MTV altered how we watch music videos. Worldwide audiences were captivated by films like E.T., Star Wars, and Back to the Future, while TV programs like Miami Vice and The A-Team helped to define the era's style. With the advent of new genres, technology, and marketing techniques that would determine the future of the music industry, the 1980s were a period of considerable musical and cultural upheaval. Electronic music began to take off in the 1980s, led by acts like Kraftwerk, Depeche Mode, and New Order. Synthesizers and drum machines were used to produce a new sound that would have a long-lasting impact on dance, rock, and pop music. Pop music dominated the 1980s, with superstars like Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Prince enjoying unparalleled commercial success. Synthesizers and other electronic instruments provided a unique sound that was lively, danceable, and catchy sound. Throughout the 1980s, hip-hop became a significant influence in music culture. The genre, which later became a worldwide sensation, was popularized by artists like Run DMC, LL Cool J, and Public Enemy. With bands like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and AC/DC finding mainstream success, heavy metal remained popular throughout the 1980s. Solid riffs and boisterous, angry vocals characterized the sound of the genre. Music became more globally distributed throughout the 1980s, with performers from many countries finding success in new areas. The development of new technologies, such as satellite transmission and the internet, facilitated music distribution and global consumption. We hope you have enjoyed this trip down memory lane and learned something new. To explore this fascinating decade further, check out our other videos and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.